Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Plugged In La Porte. I'm your host, Nate Loucks, and I'm delighted to have you join us as we delve deeper into the pulse of our city, La Porte, Indiana. This is your premier podcast for getting connected, being curious, and of course, getting plugged in with all that is happening in and around La Porte. Today, we have a very special show for you. We'll be speaking with none other than the city's own Mayor Tom Dermody. We'll cover a wide range of topics that directly impact our community, from the differences between his first term and second term to what we can expect in the future with upcoming projects. Mayor Dermody has all the inside information, and trust me, you're not going to want to miss a single minute of it. But that's not all. We'll also be addressing the culture of cynicism that often pervades online discussion about our city's future and initiatives. We're going to tackle this head on, having a frank conversation about finding some optimism and understanding and how we can come together to shape a brighter future for La Porte. In this episode of Plugged In La Porte, we're excited to announce that Binversie also joins us as a familiar voice. He keeps us updated on the latest events happening in downtown La Porte and the Civic Auditorium. From arts and music to hidden community gatherings, Brett has all the information for you to get more involved and plugged in. Now, whether you're a lifelong resident or just visiting our charming city, this episode will deepen your connection to La Porte and make you more involved in being a LaPortian. Our mantra here is simple yet powerful. Let's get connected, curious, and plugged in. All right, joining us for the first time on the podcast, I'm incredibly honored to welcome a special guest who plays an instrumental role in the vision and direction of La Porte. We're going to have so much to discuss and only about a half hour to 45 minutes to do it in, which I'm sure we will go past that. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to none other than the City of La Porte Mayor Tom Dermody. Today, I want to dive deep into the latest happenings around La Porte, the strides we're making as a community, and how Mayor Dermody envisions the future of our beloved city. Mayor Dermody, welcome to Plugged In La Porte. It's great to have you with us today.
Nate, great to be here, and look forward to delving into anything that comes up and having those discussions.
Now, I'm honored to call you a friend. Now, this is our 5th episode. I think you're on episode 5, and let's be honest, did you want to get on here sooner than episode 5?
Well, I'm a little surprised that I'm episode 5, but hey, it's a shock to.
So, Bert, the CEO or the president of LEAP, called me and said, "Hey, it's time to have the mayor on the podcast." And I said, "No, because the longer we have him off, the madder he gets." And I just enjoy, just making you mad. So,
the good news is Representative Pressel was a warm up for me.
He was, and he spent a lot of time talking about how bills are made, and so nobody questions any of that. So let's talk about you're in your second term now.
Yes.
And first term versus second term. You were a state representative, you've been a school board member. Mayor's been very, very different for you. But you've been very accessible, you've been very active, you've pushed your team to get a lot done. Now, whether or not everyone loves what you've done, it's not because you've not been trying to accomplish a lot of goals. Let's talk about first term. What are some of the things you're most proud of first term that you got done?
Well, I think number one was setting that standard as a community that I remember when I grew up here. We had pride, expectations. And, on day one, we set an expectation of housing. We've heard the complaints over the last 26 years at 701 Maple, and we said, people will not live in this type of despair, will live in unsafe housing, and that has been ignored by political entities for too long. And so we came in, Jeff Batchelor, code enforcement, and set the new standard. 701 Maple was kind of that announcement to the public that there's a new day.
Yeah, for our listeners, 701 Maple is right across the street from the YMCA.
Yes, the apartment complex that had all type of legal, drug, police issues, and we set a new standard that, look, no more. And it's a new day, and Jeff Batchelor and his code enforcement team have gone about setting that standard with especially landlords and rentals and cleaning up. And then, anything from a base perspective of, hey, our roads we're going to be pothole free. We're going to be spotless downtown and throughout the neighborhoods. Just the little things, cleaning up along the curbs so that our residents can drive around the community and feel proud. And we've done that. And we have more work to do, and we're excited to do it in the second term. But I would tell you that setting that new expectation, I was excited about. I love La Porte. I love that I grew up here, and proud to be a part of its future.
Now, you've been in La Porte your whole life. You know La Porte well, but when you became mayor, what were some of the things that you learned that you maybe didn't know? Was it that housing was in such disarray? Was it, what were some of those things that you think, I didn't expect this level of disorientation or this level of issue?
Maybe that putting my cell phone out there, people would actually really use it, and that keeps me busy.
But do people not call you as much as you think?
Oh, no, they do. They text, they message, and I love being accessible that way. But I would tell you, housing and really getting into rentals, because not everybody can afford home ownership, and recognizing what people were living in La Porte and people I went to school with. And also some of the drug use that has happened, especially in the Triangle area, and how available it was, not necessarily coming from La Porte, but coming from South Bend, coming from Michigan City, right during the time with fentanyl, and how dangerous fentanyl is, and making sure we are proactive to make the drug traffickers feel uncomfortable in La Porte, but also including myself going door to door and knocking on doors with police and setting that standard that we are watching. And you can live your best life in La Porte, but if you choose to go down an alternative path, we will be there.
So then you start. Again, you're mayor. You're in their second term now. I don't know. Are mayors term limited at 2 terms?
They are not.
They're not. Okay, so we won't talk about re-election or anything like that because it's really not important. You just started your second term, but I want to talk a little bit about leadership being scaffolding. Right? I talk about with my team at State Street in the PAC Center that we're all scaffolding. We are building something that hopefully outlives us. Right? The work that we do shouldn't only be because we're doing it. So when you think about La Porte in the next 10 to 20 years, when you're not the mayor anymore, what are you hoping the city becomes?
Well, I think that's a great question. It was something we were just talking about yesterday, about our zoning, about our, again, standards that we now have said, La Porte, you can't do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. We have standards. And my hope is that, number one, it's going to be a place for our children, our grandchildren, that they're going to want to come home to, make a quality living, have the best quality of life, because you look at our lakes, you look at everything. We're an hour from Chicago, and that they're going to be proud to come back home and call La Porte home and have their family around, but also making sure all the difficult decisions, all the difficult conversations we have with people in the community that, hey, you're not going to do this in a zoning area that's not set up for this type of zoning. And because we've always done it this way, doesn't mean we're going to continue it. And I kind of want to set a standard there that future mayors won't have to deal with. All they'll have to do is continue to implement what we've started, and the expectation that La Porte's not a community that can be run over and do whatever you like and it'll be okay.
Yeah, and again, also setting that expectation for residents as well, to expect this out of your leadership, right? Which is a big deal. Is your leaders should provide these. Your leaders should protect you in these ways with your code enforcements and things like this. It's okay to have obligations of your leaders, but also your neighbors for the community that you're trying to create.
100%. And hey, we're going to have police traveling those neighborhoods, watching to keep La Porte safe and the neighbors safe. And I think that's important, and be aggressive. We want to be the best La Porte. I want to compete against Valparaiso. I want to compete against Mishawaka. We need to work as a region, but as well, when it comes time for quality paying jobs, we don't need every business here coming in that might be paying $12, $13, $14 an hour. We want to go after those 20 plus an hour jobs, plus benefits and more. And that's who we're looking for in La Porte. So you have choices of places to work that will provide a quality living for your family.
So I feel like following the news, listening to economic development reports. Obviously, this podcast is hosted and sponsored by the La Porte Economic Advancement Partnership. So economic development is important to what we talk about. But I feel like this area, let's talk about just La Porte County, St. Joe County, Porter Lake County, this kind of region area is going to drastically change in the next 10 to 15 years. There are some projects, obviously, some that are happening in St. Joe County, New Carlisle, that are significant, right? Thousands of people being employed in good jobs. There's some things that I know are talked about here in La Porte as well. I don't know if there have been announcements made or not. But it just feels like there's this big, it's like the water's almost going over the edge a little bit and the waterfall's coming. With that, then, how do you see La Porte engaging in some of that? Is it going to be the community that people, live in while we have this housing issue, right? Is it going to be people that, you're trying to compete to get those jobs here? How do you envision La Porte to be in a part of that piece of the puzzle?
So I think it's a blend of everything. Some that will be a place to work for our residents, but others, as we grow to be 30,000 people by 2030, that will be working in New Carlisle along Highway 2, but will say, hey, I don't want to live in the west side of South Bend. I don't want to live somewhere else. I want to live in La Porte and commute 10 minutes to a job. And we have to have housing available. And when it's scary to think that we haven't had an outside developer come to La Porte and build homes in a neighborhood, more than just one-off homes, in 30 years. We have a lot of catching up to do. We've had Mitch Ficus, but now we have Steiner Homes over on 18th Street. We have Park Street with a developer coming in. We also have Habitat for Humanity. We had the banks. We have Ivy Flats, which I'm personally proud of, because you talk about people that said, hey, you're not doing enough for homeless. You're not doing this or that. And we do it. And then there's a great debate on whether we should do that or not. And I'm 100% in. We are going to change lives, because we're going to have apartments there with on-site wraparound services for individuals that have had, mental health issues in the past, physical issues, and we're looking out for those people. And I think Ivy Flats is going to be special to me because, again, we're changing lives.
It's also really important, I think, when we talk about, because some of the rhetoric around Ivy Flats was, I think it's fine. It's okay to say I don't like this project, but some of the rhetoric I thought was irresponsible, because just because you have, let's say, a mental or emotional disease, or just because you have a physical handicap, does not make you a criminal. It does not actually. Typically, that makes you more likely to be a victim than a criminal. I think we want to be in a community, or at least I want to be in a community, that regardless of your economic status, regardless of your mental or emotional, challenges, you have a right to live in this community.
La Porte is a welcoming community, and we will continue to be so. And I'll tell you what, mental health issues are not just for those individuals that are walking the streets. You can have mental health issues. There are those individuals that have them, that have great paying jobs, and we can't turn our backs on them. And it's just funny, some of the individuals, just be honest, just say you don't want this based on that, quit trying to turn around the facts. And it's funny, because then you see some of the individuals on social media that banter about us not doing enough for those homeless. And then when we do something, then they, debate there. And so that's why I remind our team, you can't get caught up in that. Anybody that has a concern, listen to them if they're willing to meet you eyeball to eyeball and talk about the situation, not just go on some platform to make themselves look good.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the growth strategy, 2030, 30,000 by 2030. There are people that hear that and they roll their eyes a little bit, right? Because we're, 22,000 people. But not only that, we have had a long history of not growth, right? Or just mostly stagnation, right? There's been a lot of talk with the schools that one of the issues that we have with the schools and growth is that our community is aging. It's getting older, so we don't have as many kids going to school. I'd like to dive into that data a little bit closer because I'm not sure it's as simple as that. But how do you see growth happening so significantly in the next 6 years?
Well, we had to do the basics, first of all, cleaning up La Porte, making people proud that when they come here, they visit here, they come back home. Those young people that we've educated, when they come back and visit their parents, you've got to have the income. You've got to have the jobs available. It has to look like a place they can be proud of. And then you have to have the housing. So we've got a lot of work to do. I love the idea that when you say people doubt, that fires me up. I get excited, and I love to hear more of it. So keep it up. Doubt me, and please say it daily because we are, La Porte's a special place that I'm passionate about, and we will get here at 30 by 30. And again, we've done a lot of the groundwork, and then we're going to have to upscale quickly over the next few years from a housing perspective to make it accessible, available for the people that want to stay here in La Porte, get out of their first-time buyer's home, move up into a home that's not readily available in the past, and then also have the Banks type complexes. We also have the old hospital site. That's going to be fabulous. We have downtown, and part of that will also be what are we going to do with the truck traffic? And we've said that since day one, that the truck traffic has to move, and we'll continue to try to find options and be relentless about making our downtown a more walkable area.
So let's talk a little bit more about housing, the developments that are happening. You've got a significant development happening over there off Park Street and Severs Road. There's that triangle. I forget I don't know, is there a name for the project yet? Or?
There is, and I can't recall it.
But that's annexed in now, I believe, right?
Correct.
And that developer, if I remember correctly, that developer approached the county, right, for a project, and the county essentially turned them down. I want to talk twofold here. We can talk about that project specifically and what that means to the city, but also the relationship with the city and the county, right, where you've got an aggressive growth strategy where you're trying to change some stuff and trying to bring people into the city and make it a healthier city or make it how you envision a more robust city. And you've got the county that, again, doesn't always align with the same visions and the same goals, right? Good or bad, just not always the same goals. So how do you find your strategy to work together with a county when you certainly have things that, if the county bans something, the county commissioners, it's harder for the city maybe to do those things. So how do you navigate that?
So we've been working with the council lately, the county council lately, to say, hey, everybody talks about housing. Now you have an opportunity. The housing developer that went out to Rolling Prairie and then were denied. I think they were supported, then denied. And that next day after being denied, we called them and on the phone and said, look, if they don't want you in the county, we want you in the city. And that's what led to the Park Street development because we know what the housing need is here. And we are certainly excited to participate with a developer like that. And, we'll work with any county official as long as you stay up with us and keep up with us and be in it for the right reasons. And I think the county council have really been willing, especially lately, to partner. We look forward to some more partnerships to work together. But this stuff with the politics, the fighting at the county level, businesses see that. And if businesses, what they've told us is, hey, if they can't do regular jobs without fighting and arguing and debating, what does this look like? And do I want to be involved in that by bringing my business here? So I think people know in the city of La Porte, we're pro-business. We make it easy and partner up and know that we're all professional and La Porte's the place to be.
So then that project specifically, then again, I don't know the name, but if you're listening right now, it's and not following some of the city council meetings and stuff like that, is on Severs Road and Park. There's a triangle there that's wooded right now, and there's a developer that's going to build how many houses? Or
I think it's like 12 to 14 homes, 70 or so townhomes, and then apartments, and it's been annexed, and annexation is a new word for the city of La Porte. Over the past many years, nothing really has ever been annexed, and we've annexed 39 North, Park Street, and so I think you're going to see more availability for housing because we are landlocked in the city.
As we record this here in later April, I'm sure when it's released, this is already maybe been dealt with, but also talking about some more annexation in Thomas Rose. I think you just had that conversation at the last city council meeting.
If you build it, they will come. And we saw where the Qualls group built a building, and that's now been filled and want to continue to expand. And so you'll see more development up there in Thomas Rose. But again, we have to have roads in the county. We have to have new roads. And, I have asked the question, I asked it this morning to a group, is when is the last road that the county's built? What is that? When has it been? We support KIP. We hope KIP develops, good things happen there, but you're not going to bring the truck traffic up on Lincoln Way to deal with that. So you have to also be proactive about the infrastructure that goes around businesses that are coming to La Porte.
So obviously this is a hot topic, right? Because it seems like government best operates when it's utilitarian. There are always going to be as many winners as you can, but there will be a loser oftentimes, right? For instance, a new road is always going to have to go through some kind of land. And whoever owns that land, it's going to negatively impact them. So there's winners, there's losers, always in decisions. When you put a new project in a space or in an area or in a neighborhood, there might be neighbors that don't like it, but it's going to benefit everyone, right? So when we talk about routes going around La Porte, and we talk about the county, right, having the working relationship with the county, how do you see that being done? Is there something that the city can do without the county's input, or do you need to have everyone on board?
Well, we'd certainly love for the county to be involved, to look at options for basically truck traffic. And again, when you don't build new roads for such a long time, things won't work out well. So we've taken on ourselves that, hey, Washington Street might be an option. And the part that, people don't forget, we work with those individuals that could be negatively affected. We sit with them. We want to understand their concerns, as well as them understand our thought process of why we're doing things. And again, 39 North annexation, we sat and visited with the homeowners. Many of them didn't want to meet with us, may not like what we have to say. We get that, but they deserve the right to hear the reasoning why we're doing things. And we have to look from a government perspective. We can't all look at ways to protect our own positions. We have to look and do what's best for the residents. And, we can't be afraid to change government for the future and how government looks. And, I think the Kernan Shepherd report by Governor Daniels at the time brought a lot of that discussion forward. And we have to continue to look at ways to be as efficient as possible for the residents, but also move forward with the things that we're required with, infrastructure and so forth, our police department, our fire. You look at our police department, we have the first mental health social worker within the police department. Who would have thought 20 years ago we would have a social worker that's working on issues? And but when you look at the problems, the calls for service, those are the type of things that happen. So we have to continue to think of new ways to do things.
So you're known amongst your staff as somebody that can be rather impatient at times. When should projects be done? Yesterday, correct? Is
yes,
that fair?
Of course.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so as we look at this coming year, and construction is going to, we're entering construction season now. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of construction, especially infrastructure type of construction, is dead in the winter, right? If there's no asphalt being produced, there's no concrete, these kind of things, you can't put a lot of infrastructure in. But as you think of 2024, what projects do you think should be starting this year, or ending this year, maybe finishing, but also starting this year that you're excited about?
Well, number one, and it may not be exciting, but when we took over, we know we had $100 million issue of water and sewer infrastructure that are 100 years old. And you can't have kids playing in waste backup on neighborhoods in the letter and number streets. So we started with Monroe Manor. We're now into the letter and number streets this year, making great progress. I Street, and it's a pain for residents. And I am sorry to the residents that have to deal with all the improvements, which are new water, new sewer, and then basically new roads and sidewalks. But in the end, La Porte's going to be better because of that. We talk about safe water. One other project that's going to be big are lead lines, to eliminate all the lead lines. And, I think we'll have some business projects, some businesses coming to La Porte that I'm extremely excited about, that hopefully in the next 3 weeks or so we'll be able to announce that are coming to La Porte, and our residents deserve that. La Porte's a special place, and to have a name that will come to La Porte is exciting, that people will recognize in the Wall Street Journal on a national basis, and they've picked La Porte to be their next stop.
This company you can't announce yet.
That I can't announce, that I just tickled out there.
I know, right?
And
exactly. Our listeners are wondering. I think it's, honestly, if we're being honest, one of the worst kept secrets in the city. But we won't steal their thunder. But one of the criticisms, or one of the critiques I hear online, and people talk about this, is the debt that the city is incurring. Can you speak to that a little bit, about the debt that the city is incurring?
Well, and I'm still trying to figure out this debt situation. The only debt we've taken on through the property tax budget, and by the way, thanks to Courtney Parthone, our clerk treasurer, amazing team, and working with our department heads, making difficult decisions, we are living within our means. We have a structurally balanced budget for the first time in the history of the City of La Porte, which means we're not spending more than we have coming in. That's number one, and we're proud of that budget. Number two, we have water and sewer rates that we use to implement infrastructure. So the water and sewer, we can do when we get a monthly bill from everybody, say, hey, we've got $20,000. So we'll do a half of a block of infrastructure in May, and then we'll come back when we get the monthly payments in June, and hey, we'll do another little half of a block, and then the next month do the sidewalk. Or we can say, hey, we know these dollars are coming in for water and sewer in monthly bills. Let's bond for it and use those proceeds on a monthly basis to pay it back, so we can do large projects. So again, I question, and again, a couple of the individuals that are on social media, one's being investigated by the state police, another one has tormented an employee. So we're not talking about brainiacs here. And that's why I've told our team, you can't ignore it. And they hide. They won't come meet face to face and so forth. And they don't want to share the facts. We've said, come to a meeting. We'll talk about the facts all day long in front of the public. And you can ask us any questions. And we'd like to ask them a few questions as well and have some fun with it. But again, those individuals, the 4 or 5 of them that want to make a name for themselves because maybe they haven't done anything in their life. So their goal is to look at those individuals that are working hard from the city perspective, trying to make positive change. And I'll tell you, all department heads, they could go work in the private sector for double the pay tomorrow. I promise you that. I'm fortunate to be a part of this team. And these individuals, the pride that they have in La Porte, they grew up here. I'm just proud to be working alongside of them and appreciate that they've given up of themselves to do what's right by La Porte.
Is that, as a leader, is that one of the more frustrating things? I know you're not afraid of criticism. You've got broad shoulders. You actually kind of almost like the sport of it. But you've got a team working for you, right? They don't have the same personality as you. They're trying to do their job as best as they can. And when they're taking a lot of criticism and flack, and you see them working as hard as they are, is that one of the more frustrating things for you? Probably more hurtful, in my opinion. It would be more hurtful for me. I can take the criticisms, right? I don't like it when my team has to, because they're only doing the things that they should do and the things that I ask them to do, right?
Yeah, and that is the difficult part. I am free game here. I'm an elected official. Let's go. Let's get it on. I prefer eyeball to eyeball, not hiding behind the computer. But our team works hard. And can you imagine individuals going to their workplace and battering them with false information as our department heads or our employees? And so I think we've turned the corner on that, where we'll battle. Let's go get it on. Let's talk about the facts. But we have so many people that are supportive in the community. And it's been nice to hear residents come up and say, hey, thank you very much for doing this. Your team is awesome. And it's important that our department heads, our employees all hear from the residents what a great job that they're doing, because nobody's perfect and we're far from perfect. I make mistakes every day, but this team busts their hump, and it's nice to see so much support of people coming out even to the Friday Night Lives for events and saying, hey, this is great here, this is awesome here. And then those that help us and say, hey, you may not have seen this here, but you might want to get this addressed. We're all in it together. And I've always been a part of a team, and I love working this way. And that's what's making La Porte the special place that it is.
Let's talk a little bit about the politics of it all then, and kind of as it relates to some of this. As I talk to people potentially about running for office and things like this, because, we need good people, right? We need good people running for office that want, good things. And my requirement of politicians is not that you always vote the way I want you to. That's never it's that I think you're trying to do the right thing, right? That's
Absolutely.
what I want, is I want you to try to do the right thing, even when we don't agree. If I feel like you're doing it with the right heart and the right beliefs, then, we might disagree on some of those things. But I'm finding more and more people kind of afraid to run, and it's not because they're not willing to give the time. It's not, but they're just afraid of. So much of the criticism isn't legitimate criticism. It's attacks. It's attacks with information, misinformation, and disinformation, and things like this, and then personal stuff, right? Getting families involved, and so they say, well, why would I do that? I mean, nobody's getting into politics to make money, right? So why would I do that, especially local politics? What do you have to say for that? Like, what do you see that as a problem? And maybe how would you encourage people to run for office?
Well, that's it. I don't care whether it's R, D, just getting young people to run, to give up of their time and of their family. But like you just said, look at the mailbox yesterday, the day before, and see the nasty mail that hits. Cowards. And you just really, hopefully, what we're doing here in the city is setting the standard of positivity. And more importantly, every day we're going to outwork you. Whatever you're doing with social media to stop us, every day we're busting our hump, I'll say.
It's a podcast. You can say whatever you want.
Bust your ass. And our team is busting our ass, and we're proud. And hopefully people will say, okay, look, we're wearing those down. And again, you can argue, debate the situation, the facts, and you may not like what we're doing, but the personal attacks, fine. When I see the personal attacks, I've already won, because that's what they've gone right to. If the only thing you're going to say about me is that you don't like me, I'm this, I'm that, we've already won. And that's the goal, hopefully, that some young people will say, I want my kids to come home. I want them to come back here. And to do so, we need a government that works together. And to your point, I've told a couple people running in this round of election, I don't care how you vote. because I think I know you as a person and you're going to try to do the right thing. And that may not align with my thoughts and what I want to see happen, and that's okay. But I know you're doing it with the best intentions, and that's what we need to get to, especially in this county election coming up. People that actually care about the county and aren't just trying to play politics and behave in a manner that's not good for our residents.
Yeah, and it's been my experience as I've been involved in the political realm for quite a while now, is on the local level, the R&D doesn't matter nearly as much as it might on a national level or even a state level. But most of the people I talk to on a local level that are getting into politics for the right reason, you wouldn't know if they're an R&D. They're just trying to make the most wise decisions they can for the people for their neighbors.
100%. And my fear is talking to people in the county right now they've accepted that this is the way the county behaves. It's always going to be there. This is how they do business. And as frustrating as it is, there's nothing that's going to change that. And that's concerning to me. And they just say, well, Tom, you just keep doing what you're doing. But we also have to look at ourselves in the mirror and look at the bigger picture for our community, for our county, to say we want quality people that are in it for the right reasons and can't ignore it. But it's hard when you put your blood, sweat, and tears into this job or into the department head jobs, any of these positions. It's hard to add things to your plate. And, we're fortunate that we have someone like Jim Pressel. And again, Jim and I don't always agree on issues, but I know he's available. I can call him, share my concerns. And even when he doesn't agree, he's at least listening.
Mm-hmm. It's back to your point about hard work. I tell my kids this all the time that, going into many rooms, I'm not going to be the smartest person in the room. I'm not going to be the best looking. I'm not going to have the most money, these kind of things. But every room I go into, I know I can work just as hard, if not harder, than everyone in there, right? And so I think if any leadership, whether it's political, business, school, if you just approach your day as, I'm going to work harder than everyone else today, right? Good things happen. And I think that's happening with the city is, there's a lot of issues that are going on right now, but I think by and large, the people that I know working in the city, from whether they're leading departments or not, are in general working very hard to try to make this a community to be good to live in.
Absolutely. And I've been a business owner. Everybody can do it on day 1, day 2, maybe day 3, but you got to grind, get up and do it day 4, or when things aren't going well, you have to get up and do it and work extremely hard. And that's what we have a team of people doing. I think the future is bright. We're going to continue to work extremely hard for our residents and be accessible, available every single day, and just know that La Porte is the place to be.
Well, Mayor Dermody, I'm getting the 1-minute signal from our producer here, so we've got to end this conversation. We'll get back together and we'll have some more conversations because I've got a lot more to talk about. But as we end this interview and talk, what do you want some of our listeners to know, and what kind of wisdom would you impart upon them?
That there's hope in the city of La Porte, and basically we are all here working together. And while we're not perfect, we're accessible. And I would encourage, like I always do, 363-7293 is my cell. Text me, call me 24/7, 7 days a week. And, together we're going to make La Porte a better place.
All right, Mayor, as always, it's always good to talk to you. I appreciate your friendship, and thanks for coming to Plugged In La Porte.
Love it.
All right, friends, we're sitting down once again with a familiar voice to our dedicated listeners. I'm thrilled to welcome back Brett Binversie to the show. Brett is not just the heartbeat behind the La Porte Civic Auditorium. He's also the director of City Events for the City of La Porte. Brett, it's great to have you with us today. Now, last time you were here, you gave us kind of the inside scoop on some events that are going on that are bringing our community together. Now, as we kind of edge closer to the summertime and summer months, we're going to talk a little bit more about what people can enjoy and how people can participate in those, from concerts to engaging community events. Let's talk a little bit about what you're excited about coming up. We're going to release this in May, so for our listeners, I actually was talking to a listener not too long ago that said they found out about a couple of the concerts just from listening to this podcast. So what are some of the shows, some of the concerts that you have coming up that our listeners should know about?
I think some of the things that we're really excited about over at the Civic Auditorium would be the May 11th show, bringing in Gone to Paradise and iPop as the opener out of the Chicago area. Gone to Paradise is one of the better Jimmy Buffett tributes in the Midwest. And with the unfortunate passing of Jimmy Buffett last year, we thought this was a great time to try to bring that Parrot Head experience to the Civic Auditorium. Great way to kind of kick off the summer season. It's early May. We're hoping for great weather that day. I can remember 2 years ago, last year we had the Queen Nation show, and the year before that we had the Thunderstruck show, and we had great weather on both of those days, and people were like early, and they were kind of hanging out in the parking lot and lawn chairs and that. It just kind of gave me that Jimmy Buffett vibe that he always wanted, and so I think this is a great fit for our community. It's May 11th. We're starting a little bit earlier. I think the doors open at 5:30 instead of 6.
You said the opening for that is who?
iPop out of the Chicagoland area, and they're going to gear their set more toward like the country rock and like the southern rock type genre that blends very well with the Jimmy Buffett fans normally.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good time for that. And then on May 31st, we're bringing back the Jump Classic Rock Experience concert. That went over extremely well with us early in 2023. The Jump Band specializes in the David Lee Roth era of Van Halen, and they are a band that is up and coming. Like their presence in the industry has more than doubled since we had them. They put on a great show, and one of the things, for those, and I'm dating myself, that can remember Van Halen and this thing called MTV and music videos back in the day, they literally put on that high energy of a show. The lead guy that is the David Lee Roth voice does the acrobats, the jumps, the kicks, the whole 9 yards. Like, they dress the part, they look the part, and most importantly, they sound the part. So, you're going to have a wonderful time with that. Nate, you were at one of our shows last year. We were just talking before we went on about the Pearl Jam experience, and like these guys remind me of that show. Like, you close your eyes and you're thinking it's old David Lee Roth.
Yeah, if you weren't able to go to that Pearl Jam show, the tribute, I cannot remember what the band was called.
10.
You missed out on a great concert regardless.
Yes.
But if you closed your eyes, that was Pearl Jam. They were just so amazing. So these bands, they are just incredible at mimicking, but also just giving you the same experience that you would have seeing the actual band in concert. So.
Absolutely. And one of the fun things about these tribute bands, not only is they're all very talented, obviously, you know the words, you can sing along. It's just, it's like a great night out with your friends at the bar, but with live music, or the house, or a little gathering or whatever with live music and actual musicians playing it instead of listening to the radio. So it's a great time. The price is right. Like we talked before, you don't have to pay for parking. You don't have to drive 45 minutes or an hour into the, Chicago or South Bend or, or local areas. It's just a really wonderful time. It's a great price point for all, and most of our shows are all ages, and we just have a really great crowd and camaraderie with people that come in. Once we get through all that, June 9th, something different for us. Some local friends had pointed out they're huge Neil Diamond fans, and there's this group called Super Diamond on the West Coast. They've played on like some of the late night talk shows nationally, Jimmy Fallon, David Letterman before he retired, a few of those. And Neil Diamond has actually played with this group, like up on stage live on some of these late night talk shows even. And they've been around for about 15, 20 years. And one of the great things is they're going to be in Chicago for a private party on June 8th. So we reached out to their agent and said, hey, you're going to be 60 miles from La Porte. Would you be interested? And we got them booked to bringing them in on Sunday, June 9th, and it's going to be an amazing time. These guys are top notch. Like we just talked about, it's the reprisal. It's fun. Everybody knows a Neil Diamond song or two, probably one of the biggest songs you'll see at sporting stadiums and nights out and weddings at the end of the night or in the middle, everybody knows, and now my mind just drew a
Sweet Caroline.
Thank you, Sweet Caroline.
I was going to ask you,
I'm sitting here going,
which song you prefer, for those of you
Forever in Blue Jeans is a big one, yeah.
America, right?
America,
Classic,
yes, from
right?
the jazz singer, yep.
So many great Neil Diamond
It's
songs.
funny, I kind of grew up on 8 tracks in my mom's house, had me late, a little older, and like it was disco, Neil Diamond, and stuff like Jimi Hendrix. So like my music genre is all over the map.
My Aunt Lynn, shout out to my Aunt Lynn if she's listening, has had a massive crush on Neil Diamond.
Oh,
it was
yes.
that long hair, And
My
so
mom
I'm sure
absolutely
she's
loved
going
Neil
to
Diamond.
love to be at this show.
We had the 8-track for the jazz singer in the house forever, which is where America came from.
Yep.
So, but that's a great show. The rescheduled Little Merman kids show, different for us, June 23rd.
Now that's rescheduled, but can you still get tickets to that? Or
Absolutely,
no?
Our tickets are available. This is licensed by the Disney company. They reprise all the like musicals like Frozen and Aladdin, Little Mermaid, all the things you can think of, Lion King. They dress the part, like they dress up like princesses and princes, and they do costume changes, and then they'll have a merch table afterwards. We've got some face painters hired. This is a matinee show. I think the doors open at 1. It starts at 2 on Sunday, June 23rd. And we think it's going to be great. We're trying to partner with some local sponsors, and we're hoping to be able to give some seats in the balcony out to some kids through the Youth Service Bureau and Family Advocates. We really want kids to come out and have a great time. It's in the summer, so we're trying to get these programs rolling as
I need to
fast
force
as possible.
my 16 and my 14-year-old to go with me because this is a show I would have loved to have gone to
Yes,
when they were
and I
little.
mean, there's going to be adults out there singing, Let It Be, or not Let It Be.
Let It Go.
Let It Go. Yeah.
Brad,
Sorry.
I need to
flashback
increase your
from the
vision.
Beatles concert this weekend at the Civic. Everything blends together sometimes. But then, to show our versatility, the Friday before that on June 21st, we have Metallica, the Four Horsemen coming in.
A different kind of concert.
A different kind of concert. They are amazing. Once again, from what I've seen, close your eyes, and it's a Metallica concert. These guys are going to be lights out, and there's a group called Louder now coming in to open for them. I think they're going to really do a great job of getting the crowd pumped up. So real excited about that. And then by the time this airs, it has not been announced yet, I can tell you, on July 19th, Friday, July 19th.
So we're breaking news right now.
We're breaking news. We're going to be hosting, it's called Yellow Brick Joel, and it is a Billy Joel and Elton John combination tribute. And the way this works is it's a 2.5-hour show with an intermission, and you have 2 pianos in the front of the stage facing each other. It's called Face to Face. And then the band is behind them, and one is dressed up as Billy Joel, and the other one is dressed up as Elton John, full costume, especially the Elton John one. It's going to blow your mind when you see these guys. But they play like dueling pianos, and they go back and forth throughout the entire night, and it's going to be outstanding. And then on Friday, August 16th, we're bringing in a Maroon 5 tribute out of Texas.
Oh, that's good.
And they are listening to the videos because Maroon 5 is so popular. I did not want to take a chance with somebody that did not sound like Maroon 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's a very unique voice.
And
that
for
guy
all the
has.
ladies out there, the lead singer does resemble Adam Levine a little bit. So I think this will be in high
What's
demand.
the band name?
The band name is Animals, Maroon 5 tribute. And it's going to be a great night. I think that could be one of our biggest ones yet if my hunch pans out. And so far, I've been pretty good on predicting where we're going to have the big ones. But Maroon 5 is so popular, and these guys are so good. And I think that's going to be the transition from summer to back to school. And that Friday night's going to be hopping. We already double-checked. High school football doesn't officially start until the following weekend. That's just a home scrimmage, so I think we're going to be in a good spot, and we're real excited. Those shows will both be on sale by the time you hear this.
All right, so what other events are you excited about this summer? Obviously, you've got other events outside of the Civic that you're doing.
Right, and I can give Lindsay credit for this band. We booked Chronic Flannel for Friday, June 7th, our first Friday night live downtown. We've been working with Rusted Knuckles, and although it's not going to be an official car show, they're going to let their people know, and it's going to be an unofficial show. They're going to have some cars down at the 600 block of Monroe and the adjacent lots and hopefully State Street there. But so we'll have some classic cars. We'll have Chronic Flannel playing.
I'm going to guess, is Chronic Flannel like a 90s tribute band or something like
yes,
that? Because
they played the initial On the Ave that Leap put on back in 2021.
That sounds fun.
Yes, that'll be a great night. And then we have Taco Fest coming back on Friday, July 5th. Bigger and better than ever.
Oh, what are you thinking? What
More taco trucks. Last year we went from like 6 to 9, and the lines were still over an hour long. Our Laportians love their food and their
Who doesn't
festivals.
love a good taco?
I'm telling you. So we're gonna try to like hit 12 to 15 this year. We've got some new ones we've discovered that we're inviting in. And
how about if any of our listeners know of any taco trucks, can they contact you?
Absolutely.
For that?
You can reach me you can call me on my cell at 219-575-0918. That's the quickest and easiest way to do so. Or you can leave a message on social media at the La Porte Civic Auditorium, blah, blah, blah. You know how that works. But we're real excited about Taco Fest. It's always been one of our best attended events. Last year we drew close to 2,000 people for that downtown. Get there early. They start at 6. And we want to thank Arnett Construction again for coming back. They are, I think, their 4th year sponsoring this event. So 3 years under me, and we're real excited about it. And then on Friday, August 9th, we will have the Cheeseburger in Paradise coming back downtown.
Nice.
Still working on entertainment for that one. And we have some unofficial Friday Night Lives that we're doing as well. Lake Fest, July 26th. Will be the unofficial Friday Night Live at Fox Park Amphitheater. We're finalizing the details on that now. And then we will also have, on Friday, September 20th, we will have our On the Ave, which is going to be the Friday Night Live on Michigan Avenue. Which is the day before Sunflower Fair.
It's a lot of stuff that the city is doing between you and Mark and the Parks Department. And,
absolutely.
To keep our residents busy and having fun this summer. For those people that haven't maybe participated in these events, because a lot of these events, obviously the concerts at the Civic cost a little bit of money. They're not real expensive, but they cost a little money. But a lot of the events don't. You know, the downtown events, these kind of things.
Right.
How would you encourage people to get more involved in these things? Because the attendance has been great, but maybe people are sitting on thinking, well, I don't know if I want to try coming to the, taco event or, Friday night stuff. How would you encourage them to do that?
There's several ways you can do so. If you don't have the time to volunteer, money helps. All these events cost money, and contrary to a lot of popular belief, we do not spend tax dollars on these things. The money that we raise through sponsorships or grants, etc., go to pay for everything. From the security we hire from our own police department, which is not paid from their salary fund out of tax dollars. It's paid for from the revenue from the events we hold, to the porta-johns, to the bands that we hire to come in, to the cleanup. All these things are paid for out of the dollars generated by the event. So sponsorships help, donations help. Time is always huge. As you know, we are all extremely busy with these events. And even if you can donate 2 hours or help planning, or, one night, maybe a group that can come in and help us either clean up or set up, all those type of things are huge. And I mean, there's several avenues you can take to reach out to us to volunteer or make donations. I think the best would be, either via social media or emailing any of us in the park department, from Mark Schreiber to Emily to myself. You can also reach out through the Live in the Lake Life website through the city. You could probably always, even in a lot of the events too, let's not forget, the people putting on this program, LEAP, are doing many things in our community as well. You can always reach out to Lindsay, I am sure, and get your information to them for volunteering. But anything helps. And for myself, I can tell you, at the La Porte Civic Auditorium, we have 3 maintenance staff and myself and 2 part-timers in the administrative office. So we put on these concerts that draw 12 to 1,500 or more, and we have to have stagehands to set up, to tear down. A lot of times, if people have noticed from our calendar, we're doing multiple events in a weekend. We can always use your volunteer help or part-time help with our event staff at the Civic Auditorium. If you are interested, you can always call 219-362-2325 to reach the office, or get a hold of myself directly.
Well, Brett, we've got a lot of stuff coming up, and I hope, again, that you, our listeners, engage in these events. If you want to go to laportecivicauditorium.com, you'll find the events calendar. But again, coming up, we've got May 10th, locally sourced, which is something the PAC Center that I'm involved with is doing. We've got on the 11th, Gone to Paradise, the Jimmy Buffett Experience. And on the 31st, we have the Classic Rock Experience with Jump, Van Halen tribute. So
Absolutely.
again, we'll have you back again soon to talk about more events coming up. But just in May, there's plenty to get involved with at the Civic Auditorium. So we encourage you to do so as you are trying to get more involved into the community. I'll give you the final word, Brett. What do you want our listeners to know?
The 25th annual La Porte Sunflower Fair, September 21st. Remember how that started 25 years ago. Last year, we drew over 10,000 people to Michigan Avenue between 8 and 4. We're looking for 4 title sponsors for this. I think we already have 2 lined up. We want to make this bigger and better than ever. We're going to improve our music. We've already got a commitment from Middle of the Road to be one of the bands during the show, and we're going to make that better. Working hard with Jeff Apple to do that. And then if you're interested in being a vendor, we already have over 65 applications for vendors, so get those in as fast as you can. A food vendor, a volunteer, or an artisan vendor, we would love to hear from you.
I've got a computer in front of me. So if you go to sunflowerfair.com, you can find all the information there and get more involved. Again, that's coming up. We are going to blink, listeners, and it'll be September. I promise you.
It goes fast.
Thanks so much again for being here, Brett. Thanks so much for listening, listeners. Again, I encourage you to get more involved at the Civic Auditorium and all the events and things happening around the city. And just like that, we're winding down another episode of the Plugged In La Porte podcast. I truly hope today's conversation with Mayor Tom Dermody has enlightened you about the important work happening in our city. His insights into the current projects, future visions, and tackling the online culture of cynicism are essential for us as we strive to foster a more connected and plugged-in community. We also had the pleasure of bringing Brett Binversie back into the studio to share the vibrant roster of events coming up in downtown La Porte in the iconic Civic Auditorium. It's clear that there's an abundance of excitement and engagement brewing in our city. It's all happening just around the corner for you. Before we part ways, thank you, our dear listeners, for tuning in and being a part of this important conversation. Your enthusiasm and commitment to staying informed and involved make this platform special. Remember, our mantra here is, let's get connected, curious, and plugged in. Not just to the energy of our city, but to each other, nurturing a community that thrives on curiosity, connection, and mutual support. I also want to thank our podcast partners and the supporting partner of this podcast, La Porte Economic Advancement Partnership. You can find them online at laportepartnership.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to Plugged In La Porte on your favorite podcast platform. We'd also deeply appreciate it if you could leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and connects us more deeply with our listeners and the subjects that matter most to you. With that, we wrap up today. Keep your ears tuned and your hearts open for our next episode. In the meantime, let's do our part to contribute positively to our city, both online and offline. Because together, as a connected, curious, and plugged-in community, there's nothing we can't achieve. Until next time, stay plugged in, La Porte.